Steph Curry had 15 minutes to catch the last flight of the day. A commitment he could never miss. But when he heard the desperate crying of a lost child in the airport, he had to make the most difficult choice of his life. What happened in the next few hours changed forever, not only that child's life, but completely transformed Curry's own perspective on what really matters in life. The metallic sound of announcements echoed through Terminal 3 of San Francisco International Airport, while Steph Curry walked hurriedly through the busy corridors. It was a typical Tuesday in California, with that gray sky that promised rain, and the airport was bustling with the constant movement of passengers carrying suitcases and urgency. Curry looked again at his iPhone. 2:45 p.m. His flight to Charlotte had been delayed twice, and now only 15 minutes remained before the final call. This wasn't just any flight. It was the trip to the annual charity event in memory of his grandfather, Del Curry Sr., who had passed away the previous year. An event that happened only once a year, where hundreds of children were waiting for him and where he would make a special tribute to the man who inspired him to play basketball. Final call for Flight 1247 to Charlotte. Late passengers, please proceed immediately to Gate B12, announced the female voice over the loudspeakers. Curry quickened his pace, his Nike backpack swinging on his shoulder. He ran past a crowded Starbucks, past travelers dragging noisy suitcases, past families saying goodbye. He was almost reaching the gate when a sound made him stop completely. Muffled sobs, a child crying. For a moment, Curry hesitated. He looked at his watch, then in the direction of the sobs coming from behind a row of blue chairs in the waiting area. 15 minutes, maybe 10, if he considered the time to reach the gate and board. But the crying persisted, a sound of pure desperation that cut through the constant noise of the airport. Curry sighed and headed toward the chairs. There, huddled on the floor between two seats, was a boy of approximately 7 years old. Messy dark hair, brown skin, wearing a completely wrinkled yellow Golden State Warriors t-shirt and well-worn white sneakers. The boy was crying with his face hidden in his arms, a small blue backpack at his side. "Hey, buddy," said Curry softly, crouching down to the child's height. "Is everything okay?" The boy lifted his tear-wet face, and his eyes widened when he recognized who was in front of him. For a moment, he stopped crying, as if he couldn't believe it. Steph Curry?" he whispered in English with a Hispanic accent. "Yes, it's me. What's your name?" "Miguel," answered the boy, wiping his nose on his t-shirt sleeve. "Miguel Rodriguez." "Miguel, where are your parents? Are you alone here?" The boy's face contorted again, and the tears returned with full force. "Me mama. I can't find me mama. She disappeared." Curry felt his stomach tighten. He quickly looked around. The airport was packed, thousands of people passing in all directions. A lost child there was like looking for a needle in a haystack. "Okay, Miguel, take a deep breath with me," said Curry, sitting on the floor next to the boy. "When was the last time you saw your mother?" She told me to wait here while she went to the bathroom," Miguel sniffled. "That was, I don't know, a long time ago. I thought she had forgotten about me." Final call for passengers on Flight 1247 to Charlotte. Boarding is being closed. Curry closed his eyes for a second. Charlotte. The event. The children waiting. The tribute to his grandfather. Everything he had planned for the past few weeks. Then he looked at Miguel, the red and swollen eyes, the small hands trembling slightly, the Warriors t-shirt that was probably his most precious possession. "Miguel," said Curry, placing his hand on the boy's shoulder. "Let's find your mother together, okay?" The boy looked at him with a mixture of hope and disbelief. You're going to help me? Really?" "Really," answered Curry, feeling something settle inside him. "I won't leave you alone here." Through the loudspeakers, he heard the final sound that confirmed his decision. "Flight 1247 to Charlotte is departing." "Thank you." Curry took Miguel's hand and stood up. "Come on, let's start looking." As they walked toward the information desk, Miguel held tightly to Curry's hand, as if it were the only solid thing in a world that had suddenly become very big and scary. Curry took out his cell phone and quickly sent a message to his wife. "Missed the flight. Will explain later. Love you." Behind them, through the large terminal window, an American Airlines plane slowly moved away from the gate, carrying other passengers toward Charlotte. Curry didn't look back. The information desk was busy, with a line of at least 10 people ahead of them. Curry kept Miguel by his side, noticing how the boy looked nervously at every woman who passed by, hoping that one of them would be his mother. "Next!" called the employee, a middle-aged black woman with graying hair and a badge that read, "Sandra, 15 years of service." Curry approached with Miguel. "Hello, this boy is looking for his mother. They got separated in the airport." Sandra looked at Miguel with a maternal smile, then recognized Curry. Her eyes widened slightly, but she maintained her professionalism. "Oh my God, you're Steph Curry! My son is your #1 fan." She quickly composed herself. "Sorry, let's focus on what's important. Honey," she said to Miguel, "what's your mommy's full name?" "Carmen Rodriguez," Miguel answered in a low voice. Sandra typed on the computer, frowning. "We have 3 lost children reports in the last 2 hours. The movement is very intense today because of yesterday's cancellations. Our search system is overloaded." "How long does it usually take?" asked Curry. "With the standard protocol, it can take 2 to 4 hours, sometimes more. But," she leaned in conspiratorially, "I can speed up some things for you. I'll put a priority alert in the system." While Sandra worked, Curry knelt next to Miguel. "Miguel, tell me about your trip. Where are you going?" "Phoenix," said Miguel, opening his backpack and taking out a crumpled paper. "To visit Tia Rosa. Mama saved a lot of money for this trip. She works very hard." Curry carefully took the paper. It was handwritten in Portuguese and English mixed. "Rosa Martinez, Phoenix, 60255505147. The number was circled several times with blue pen. "Is this the first time you've been on a plane?" Miguel nodded enthusiastically, momentarily forgetting his situation. "Yes, Mama said it's like flying like the birds. She's never been on a plane either. We live in Oakland." "Oakland is a cool city," said Curry. "Does your mother work there?" "She cleans offices at night and works in a restaurant kitchen during the day." Miguel spoke with obvious pride. "She said this trip is our prize for being a good team." Curry felt his chest tighten. Meanwhile, his cell phone was vibrating constantly. Messages from his agent, from the Charlotte event organization, from sponsors. He silenced the phone. Sandra returned with a serious expression. "The problem is, we have 3 terminals, and your mother could be in any of them. She might have gone looking for you in other places, or even be in the restricted area thinking you went to the bathroom there." "Can we see the security cameras?" asked Curry. "That requires special authorization and can take hours, but I can make some calls." Curry's phone rang. It was Isha. He answered. Steph, where are you? I saw on the news that your flight took off. I'm still at the airport. I found a lost child and I can't leave him alone, Isha. There was a pause. Curry could imagine his wife processing the information. A lost child? Steph, you have your grandfather's event. I know, said Curry, looking at Miguel, who was trying to dial his aunt's number on a nearby payphone. But look at him, Isha. He's 7 years old. He's terrified. His mother works 2 jobs just to pay for this trip. Another pause, longer. You're doing the right thing, said Isha finally, her voice softer. The event can be rescheduled. This child needs you now. I love you, said Curry. I love you too. And Steph? Your grandfather would be proud. Miguel returned frustrated. Nobody answers at Tia Rosa's house. It's okay, said Curry, taking the boy's hand again. Let's look for your mother around the airport. Sandra, can you give us a map of the terminals? Of course, and I'll put an announcement on the sound system every 15 minutes. As they left the information desk, Curry realized he was embarking on something that would completely change his day. Maybe much more than that. But looking at Miguel, who now walked beside him with renewed confidence, he knew there was no other path to follow. Tio, Steph, Miguel said suddenly. Tio? Curry smiled. That's what we call the cool men in my family? You're cool. Curry felt a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with basketball, fame, or trophies. 3 hours later, Curry and Miguel had covered almost all of Terminal 3. They passed by McDonald's, Subway, Hudson News, by the California souvenir shop where Miguel looked with admiration at the teddy bears he couldn't buy. Curry discreetly bought a small San Francisco Giants toy airplane and gave it to the boy, who held it like a talisman. Let's check Terminal 1, said Curry, consulting the airport map that was already folded and refolded several times. They walked through the connecting walkway, passing dozens of hurried passengers. Miguel was quieter now, fatigue beginning to weigh on him. Curry carried him on his back for a stretch, feeling how light the boy was, probably underweight for his age. Tio Steph, said Miguel, while they were sitting in a cafe sharing a chocolate muffin. My mama always says I'm her little warrior. Warrior? Asked Curry. Yes, she says that when Papa left, the 2 of us became a special team. Like the Warriors. Miguel tried to smile, but his eyes were still worried. Your father left? Miguel nodded. 2 years ago. Mama cried a lot, but she said we would be fine together. And we are. She teaches me to be strong. Curry felt a lump in his throat. He thought about his own children at home, about how lucky he was to have a united family, about how he had taken many things for granted. You know, Miguel, my family also taught me to be strong. But sometimes the strongest thing we can do is ask for help when we need it. Like now? Exactly like now. At that moment, Curry's cell phone rang. It was a number he recognized, from the Charlotte event organization. Steph, where the hell are you? Came the irritated voice of the organizer. We have 300 children here waiting. The press is asking. Mark, I'll explain later. I had an emergency. What kind of emergency could be more important than... Curry hung up the phone. For the first time in his life, he put something above a professional commitment, and that was both liberating and scary. Who was it? Asked Miguel. Work, said Curry simply. Did you miss work because of me? Curry looked into the boy's worried eyes. Miguel, sometimes the most important things aren't on our schedule. They continued the search. In Terminal 1, They stopped at every store, every restaurant. Curry used his fame strategically, asking employees to check women's bathrooms, asking if anyone had seen a Hispanic woman desperately looking for a child. It was in the airport's ecumenical chapel that they had a real moment of pause. Miguel sat on a bench and was quiet for the first time in hours. "Mama sometimes comes to churches when she's worried," he said. "She lights candles and talks to God." "What does she talk about?" "About me, about how she wants to give me a better life, about how she feels lonely sometimes." Curry sat next to Miguel on the bench. The chapel was silent, a surreal contrast to the chaos of the airport outside. "You know your mother loves you very much, don't you?" "Yes," said Miguel with conviction. "She tells me every day, even when she's very tired from work. And I bet you love her very much too, more than anything in the world." At that moment, Curry realized he was witnessing something pure and profound, the unconditional love between mother and son, something that transcended circumstances, money, or social status, something that made him question his own priorities. When they left the chapel, it was already 6 p.m. They had been searching for more than 4 hours. Other airport employees had joined the search, security guards, cleaning staff, even store employees who left their shifts to help. The story of Steph Curry helping a lost child had spread discreetly among the workers, creating an improvised support network. "Maybe she already went to Phoenix," said Miguel with a small voice, looking at a plane taking off through the large terminal window. "No," said Curry firmly. "A mother would never leave her child. Never. She's here, looking for you as desperately as you're looking for her." But internally, Curry was beginning to worry too. What if Carmen had really panicked and taken a flight? What if something had happened to her? What if— "Mr. Curry," a female voice interrupted his thoughts. It was Sandra from the information desk, running toward them with an urgent expression on her face. "We found her." "Where?" Curry and Miguel asked at the same time. "Airport medical sector," said Sandra, still catching her breath. "A Hispanic woman fainted from anxiety about an hour ago. She was in a state of panic, talking about her lost son, repeating the name, Miguel, several times. The paramedics are taking care of her now." Miguel started running before Sandra even finished speaking. Curry followed him, his heart beating fast, part relief, part anxiety about Carmen's condition. The medical sector was in the airport's basement, accessed by elevators that seemed to take forever to descend. Miguel bounced with anxiety, holding the toy airplane so tight that his knuckles were white. "What if it's not Mama?" asked Miguel, his voice tremulous. "It will be her," said Curry, with a conviction he forced himself to feel. "I'm sure." The elevator doors opened to a white and sterile corridor. Sandra quickly guided them to a room where paramedics and nurses moved calmly. And there, on a stretcher, was a small woman with dark hair tied in a messy ponytail, wearing jeans and a light pink blouse. "Mama!" Miguel's scream echoed through the corridor. Carmen opened her eyes immediately, still disoriented, but seeing her son running toward her, she sat up on the stretcher so quickly that a nurse had to steady her. "Miguel! Dios mío! Miguel!" Mother and son embraced with an intensity that made everyone present stop what they were doing. Carmen cried and spoke rapidly in Spanish, checking Miguel from head to toe as if she wanted to make sure he was really there, whole and safe. "Pensé que te había perdido para siempre. Nunca más, mijito. Nunca más." Curry stood a few meters away, watching the reunion with a lump in his throat. The pure emotion of the moment Carmen's relief, Miguel's happiness, the obvious love between them, hit him like a wave. Carmen finally noticed Curry standing there. Her eyes widened in recognition, then in confusion. "You? You are?" she said in hesitant English. "Steph Curry," said Miguel proudly. "He helped me look for you. He's my Tio Steph now." Carmen tried to get up from the stretcher, but was still weak. "Senor Curry, you know, I don't know how to thank you. Me, English is not—" "You don't need to thank me," said Curry, approaching. "How are you feeling?" "You estaba tão scared," said Carmen, alternating between English and Spanish like Miguel did. "You fui ao baño, and when I came back, Miguel wasn't there. I looked everywhere. I thought, pensé que alguien had taken him." The paramedic, a young man with a Texan accent, explained, "She had a classic panic attack. Low blood sugar, too. Probably didn't eat anything all day from nerves. She needs to rest and hydrate." "Mama," said Miguel, "you were looking in the wrong place. I stayed where you told me to stay." Carmen closed her eyes, laughing and crying at the same time. "I'm sorry, mijito. Mamãe ficou so scared que não conseguia pensar direito." Curry knelt beside the stretcher. "Carmen, do you have accommodations in Phoenix tonight?" "No, our flight was at 6 p.m. We're staying at my sister's house." "The last flight to Phoenix today already left," said Sandra, who had stayed to follow the situation. "The next one is only tomorrow morning." Curry saw the panic return to Carmen's eyes. "But I have to work tomorrow night. If I miss it, I lose my job." "Don't worry about that now," said Curry gently. "I'll take care of you tonight. Hotel, food, and I'll make sure you catch the first flight tomorrow." "Senor Curry, I cannot accept. É muito generoso, but—" "Carmen," Curry interrupted, "I missed my own flight today to help Miguel. It wasn't a waste of time. It was one of the best days of my life. Let me complete what I started." 3 hours later, Carmen and Miguel were settled in a hotel near the airport. Curry had organized everything discreetly: room, meals, flights for the next day. But more importantly, he had spent the night talking with them. Carmen told her story, how she came from Mexico at 16, how she worked various jobs to raise Miguel alone, how she saved every penny for this special trip. Miguel showed his basketball drawings and talked about his dreams of playing in the NBA one day. "It's not about playing in the NBA," said Curry to Miguel the next morning at the airport. "It's about working hard, treating people well, and never giving up on your dreams, whatever they may be." At the moment of goodbye, Miguel hugged Curry tight. "Tio Steph, are you going to forget me?" "Impossible," said Curry. "You taught me something very important these days." "What?" "That sometimes the most important plans are the ones we don't make." Curry was on the stage at Oracle Arena, but not to play basketball. It was the launch of the Carmen and Miguel Foundation, a fund he had created to help low-income families with travel costs to visit relatives or access medical care. In the front row, Carmen, now with a better job that Curry had helped her get, applauded next to Miguel, who wore a new Warriors jersey. "6 months ago," said Curry to the audience, "I missed a flight. I thought it would be a tragedy, but it was actually the most important moment of my life, because I met a little boy who taught me that success isn't measured in championships or money. It's measured in the moments when we decide to put humanity above our own convenience." Curry looked at Miguel in the audience. "Miguel still calls me Tio Steph, and he wants to be like me when he grows up, not because I play basketball, but because he saw that helping others is more important than any game." The audience stood in applause. But Curry could only see Miguel, who made a heart with his small hands, and smiled with that same pure smile that had changed everything that day at the airport. Sometimes, thought Curry, the flights we miss take us exactly where we need to be.